a stretch of highway where countless Indigenous women disappeared without a trace, a dark corridor of fear, silence, and unanswered questions. This is the Highway of Tears, where justice remains elusive and grief still runs deep. Highway of Tears, a haunting legacy of missing Indigenous women. 1969 present, British Columbia. Spanning over 700 kilometers along Highway 16 in British Columbia, Canada, the Highway of Tears is a grim testament to decades of disappearances and murders of dozens of Indigenous women and girls. Since the late 1960s, these vulnerable women, many hitchhiking along this isolated route, vanished without explanation. Their families were left with heartbreak and communities gripped by fear. Despite the ongoing tragedy, many cases remain cold and unsolved. The missing women often belonged to marginalized communities, Indigenous, poor, and vulnerable, which contributed to systemic neglect by law enforcement and government authorities. Activists have long criticized the inadequate police investigations, calling out systemic racism and the lack of resources devoted to solving these cases. Over time, some killers have been identified and brought to justice. In 2016, highway serial killer Bruce McArthur's arrest brought renewed attention to the crisis of violence against Indigenous women in Canada. Investigations into the Highway of Tears have since intensified, with the Canadian government launching public inquiries and increasing funding for victim support and transportation safety along the highway. However, the pain persists, with many families still awaiting answers and justice. The Highway of Tears symbolizes not only the tragedy of lives lost, but also the ongoing fight against systemic indifference and violence toward Indigenous women. At Verdict Files, we uncover the stories too often ignored. How many more women must vanish before justice is truly served? The Highway of Tears demands not just remembrance, but urgent action to protect the vulnerable and bring the forgotten victims home.